Hey guys, welcome back to another Vanguard video. Today we're here talking about Tetsuya Kurodake and his iconic buddy monster, Demon Lord Asmodai, as well as Magic World. Was super happy when we got this revealed, so let's get right into the reveals. So first off, we have the Magic World flag. It is the same as all the other flags. When rode upon, it goes into the order zone. And for those who missed it, I'll put the infographics now of how the Rideline for Buddyfight works. So basically, you can use Magic World and generic cards, the same as the other flags, and you say, raise the flag for the cost. So we have the grade 1 of the Rideline here, Aibo Academy, Tetsuya Kurodake. So auto, when it's rode upon by Dance Contest Victor Tetsuya Kurodake, so the grade 2, you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, you choose up to one of either an order card or a 72 pillars without Sentinel from among them, because there's a 72 pillar PG, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle the deck. So check top 5 and add any of your cards basically that isn't a trigger from your deck. And now we have Dance Contest Victor Tetsuya Kurodake, the grade 2 of the Rideline. So auto, when rode upon by the grade 3 Tetsuya, you check top 7 cards of your deck. You choose up to 2 72 pillars without Sentinel from among them, reveal it, choose one of the reveal cards, put it in your hand, and discard the rest of the reveal cards and shuffle your deck. And this is relevant for the grade 3's on-place auto. So we have the man himself wants the whole world to join the craze, Tetsuya Kurodake. So continuous Vanguard circle. Each turn you can play 2 orders. You cannot play an order with the same card name as an order you played this turn. And then auto, when it's placed on Vanguard circle, you choose up to one of either a normal order or a set order for your drop and put it into your hand. So when you Persona Ride, you basically get to +2 because you draw one from Persona Ride, 10k to your front row, and then you also get to salvage an order from your drop. And then great spell, Saturday Night Devil Fever. Fortunately, we won't get it as a spell, but basically have it as Tetsuya's skill here. So when it attacks, you cost counter +1. You choose up to one grade 1 or less 72 pillars without Sentinel from your drop. Call to Vanguard circle. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this cost can be paid with and basically becomes the red text of cost counter +1. You put 2 72 pillars without Sentinel for your drop in bottom of deck. If you do, you choose 2 instead of 1 and call them to Vanguard circle. So basically, when your opponent's grade 3, you'll always choose to do this because you can make a column or basically do 5 attacks or more, depending on how the rest of the card of the days go. So honestly, really solid card. Again, you're basically going +2 when you place him because, or +1 on the first one, then Persona Ride, you'll +2 because again, draw 1 and salvage. Playing 2 set orders a turn, or playing 2 orders a turn is really good because you can play the set order, Noisy Danceroom, and then play a nice one in the same turn and just plus a bunch. And you want to play the set order, which we'll get to next every turn because it gets +5k to your front row essentially. So yeah, Tetsuya is really strong. I think this deck does need a stronger booster so far after going through the reveals, but I'll wait for that summary until we get to the end for the full review. But the cards themselves are really, really good for Magic World, and all of them are very solid. So the first spell I want to look at is Noisy Danceroom. It's a set order and it's grade 3, so continuous order zone. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Tetsuya in his card name, all your front row 72 pillars get intercept and power +5k. Tetsuya himself is not a 72 pillar, he's a buddy fighter, so unfortunately he won't get this power, but +5k to your front row rears is still very strong. And then active order zone, once per turn, you cost pay when engaged. Choose a 72 pillars in your Vanguard circle, return it to your hand. So you basically get to abuse your on-place effects just like Magic World's gimmick and Buddyfight, and basically reuse a call cost or an on-place such as like Dance Asmodai to draw 1 and basically use that again. So honestly, really solid card. Once you get 2 of these set up in your order zone, because you'll play it turn 3 and turn 4, you can also salvage it off Tetsuya's on place, is that you'll have 10k to your front row and then 10k from Persona Ride, so 20k to your front row essentially, which is really strong, minus Tetsuya of course, because he's not 72 pillars. And because this card has no cost, you basically just play it for free, and it's one of the 2 orders you can play during your turn. Alright, so moving on to the next card, we have Gamigin, and this card is very relevant in case we do get Solomon's Barrier. So auto, when placed on Vanguard circle, you cost pay when engaged, search your deck for up to 1 set order, reveal it, put into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So Tetsuya, to note, can actually put back 72 pillars that are set orders or order cards. We could potentially get 72 pillar triggers, but I doubt they'll do this because that's essentially putting triggers back to your deck without delegioning. But essentially what this card does is let you search any set order, and that will help you set up Noisy Dance Room, and then you'll also be able to set up any future card of the days that we'll get that are set orders. So very strong card. 1 gauge just to deck filter is really good. If you're playing multiple, you basically get to deck filter multiple times a turn if you bounce and call and use Gamigin's skill again. Alright, so next up we have Let's Play Asmodai, and his on place is choose up to 1 card with Asmodai's card name from your drop, put it face down as gauge, so on place get gauge is really strong. And then when he intercepts you Vanguard with Tetsuya, he gets shield +5 until end of turn. So he'll be a 10k shield when you reuse him. So honestly, probably one of the best cards you want to call in front row if you're not focusing on doing a bunch of power with a lot of multi-attack. I do want to say I do hope we get on a Asmodai that's like a common or rare that does have really good boost power, because when Tetsuya builds a column, it won't be that strong besides having, the OG Demon Lord Asmodai in the front row, but that is restricted to grade 3 greater, which we'll get to later. But honestly, this card is really good. On place, just get a free gauge, and then, when it intercepts, it does have to get that shield +5, so when you play it from hand, I wish it was continuous Guardian Circle. Unfortunately, it's not, but still a really solid Asmodai all around. And you can, again, bounce him to use the on place again if you do need to get your gauge out, but you basically go neutral for gauge, because you pay 1 gauge for the set order to bounce him, and then 1 gauge to basically, call him out again. So you kind of go even on gauge. basically you'd only want to do that if you need information on your gauge and you have to get it into draw. So next up we have Asmodai. His on place is pay 1 gauge. When he's placed on rearguard circle, you draw 1 for that cost. So very straightforward, 1 gauge to draw 1. You can use the noisy dance room effect on him, which is what you'll use most of the time. So noisy dance room, again, the act and order zone is cost, pay 1 gauge, choose 72 pillows in your rearguard circle and bounce it back to your hand. So you're basically paying 3 gauge to draw 2, which is really solid stuff because you have really good gauge spells such as Mind of Hardcore, which we'll look at later. So most of the time, this is what you're using Noisy Dance Room on instead of Let's Play Asmodai. Let's Play Asmodai is basically what you're using to kind of like mitigate and like kind of help you live longer because you want more shield on your board in order to not die. But if there's intercept ceiling, you rather just draw billion cards through Dance Asmodai, and nice one. Alright, so now we have the buddy himself, Demon Lord Asmodai. So auto when he's placed on rearguard circle, you cost counter +1 and perform one of the following. You choose one of your opponent's rearguard circles and retire all rearguards on that circle, so it gets around cannot choose effects, like Kairos notes here, and does not also get around ladder because ladder cannot be retired and cannot be affected effects, so such as like blast token. So basically this works against like most stuff in standard, unless like very niche stuff. So basically, as I said already, if they play ladder, or if you're against a card that says cannot be affected, such as the blast token. And then his second skill is like the Rebi version. So you search your deck for up to 172 pillars order card. This can also search the impact because it is an order. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So already very solid card. And then auto rearguard circle when it attacks a grade 3 or greater unit. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Tetsuya in its card name, this unit gets +5k until end of battle. So he's 13k. Then if your rearguard circle has a second Omni Lord Asmodai, he gets +10 instead of +5. So he'll be an 18k beater. And then, once you include Persona Ride or Noisy Dance Room, he'll be 33 or 23. So honestly, very solid card all around. Being able to search the impact early is very crucial because the impact is not a grade 3. You can use it early, which we'll get to in a second. And then choosing one of your opponent's rearguard circles and just dumping all the rears on it is very strong because it targets rearguard circle and not, the unit itself. It gets around resist. So cannot choose effects as noted earlier, but honestly really happy. Wish they had the text of like dangerous backdrop, for the lore, because that was his name skill as the Buddyfight card on him. But like he's a really solid card all around. I do wish though the second skill was, when he boosts or attacks a grade 3 greater unit, because he's a grade 1, he can boost. So if he boosts, he's only 8k unless the translation or like something or an errata happens. So kind of sucks that he's, as a booster, only 8k. I kind of wish it was attack or boost. Because we do know that from Katana World, we have like Byakuya SD as a 13k generic. And we have like Jackknife Baby getting +5, becoming a 13k booster through Tsuku's skill. So we know we're probably going to get a 13k generic grade 1 booster. So that hopefully that can be called off Tetsuya, because that is a little bit of weakness of the deck. There aren't really any good boosters right now for this deck, so hopefully we get that as a card of the day. But I mean, Demon Lord Asmodai is a very solid card and very faithful to the original with a splash of the Rebi effect. So the next card is second Omni Demon Lord Asmodai. Was super happy to see this when I woke up. So call cost, pay 2 gauge. He's a really funny card. So continuous rearguard circle. You cannot call units with the same name as this card, so basically you can't have 2 of him on the board. And if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Tetsuya in his card name, it gets power +10, also active during your opponent's turn. So this will stack with Noisy Dance Room, so he'll be 28k basically during your opponent's turn. And then auto, when this unit leaves rearguard circle, you put the top card deck into your damage zone. And then Kairos notes, this effect is mandatory. You do not resolve trigger effects, so it's not like a rescue check. So you basically just take a damage. So the funny thing is, this deck can't get CB denied at all because you can just call Demon Lord Asmodai and like ping yourself by bouncing him off, let's say, Noisy Dance Room or some other effect. I guess it also works for like when you all over him too and he goes from rearguard circle to drop. Really funny effect. So this is basically a big reference to his lifelink too, and he has a lot of the Rebi effects as well, such as counterattack, which is the last skill. Auto rearguard circle, at the end of the battle, this unit was attacked by a rearguard circle. You retire the unit attacked by this unit. So this is really hilarious because this works with the Virgilia ultimate card, because I don't know what they were cooking with that card, but it says, when your unit is retired, you can call a normal unit out of deck. So really bad matchup, I guess, into Virgilia, because they can deck then as many normal units as they want. But yeah, really cool reference to counterattack right there. He is double attack, auto rearguard circle once per turn. At the end of the battle, he attacked if your grade 3 or greater Vanguard stands, so you basically have to swing with him first. You cost counter +1, stand this unit, and then continues rearguard circle during your opponent's turn. When this unit would leave the rearguard circle, you ditch a card from your hand. If you do, it stays on the rearguard circle. So kind of like Soul Guard, a big reference to his like ditch 2 cards from hand to keep him on the board for his original grade 3, his effect in Buddyfight. So yeah, honestly, this card is really solid. It's your best booster in the deck. His easy double attack for CB1. I do think Tetsuya has a little bit of a countercharge problem because we have no countercharge yet besides Solemn's Tome, or Key of Solemn second volume, which we'll look at later on, as well as the Buddy Call once per game to get that countercharge. But besides that, the deck looks really solid all around. The rears and the plussing are really good. Again, I do think we need a better booster, and I'll say that for the end before I start going off. But yeah, this card is really funny, really strong. double attack for 28 is already really good. That's easily reaching magic numbers just for existing before Persona Ride. His first continuous doesn't check your opponent's Vanguard, it checks your own Vanguard, so he's immediately 28k once you have Ballroom set up with him. So 28k attacking twice from your opponents on grade 2 is pretty good, and then even when they're on grade 3, it's hitting magic numbers. So very solid card all around. They definitely did Omni Lord Asmodai justice. Alright, so next card, one of my favorite cards from 72 Pillars is Art of Duplication Asmodai. So active Rearguard Circle costs to retire this unit. Choose a card with Asmodai and it's a different card name from this card with grade less than or equal to your Vanguard from drop and call to Rearguard Circle, so you can salvage back basically any of your Asmodais and call them back. You cannot have 2 Omni Lord Asmodais on your field, but this basically sets up any of your other ones. So essentially this card just reads, cost retire, call Let's Play Asmodai, get a free gauge, call Dance Asmodai, draw 1. So solid stuff all around. It's not counter timing like the original because, Vanguard's a little bit weird like that. It would be hard to make that original to the faithful. But this card is really good because if you do call it off Tetsuya, the next turn you can retire him and salvage any Asmodai. So essentially you can think of it as like a plus to your hand on the following turn, because you could call this and let's say like the original Demon Lord Asmodai and make, so the original Demon Lord Asmodai will get plus 10 if you have the original Omni Lord, assuming your opponent's on grade 3 of course. Then we'll get plus 5 from Noisy, so he'll be 23. Then with this he'll be 31. So kind of a good kind of like going second turn to farm, and then this card will be able to just kill itself next turn and then salvage any of your different Asmodais back and draw you cards. So I think this card is insane. This card might be the buddy. I think making Demon Lord Asmodai the buddy is probably the play, or you can make second Omni Demon Lord Asmodai the buddy as well, because you give him Soul Guard through Ultimate Buddy, which I think is very strong. So we'll probably be trying one of the 2 out, but yeah, this card is very solid. If you do end up calling off Tetsuya the next turn, because it's a triple rare, you will get to just salvage any Asmodai back from drop. Well, technically not salvage, you're calling it directly to Rearguard Circle, but you basically get any of your Asmodais back for the following turn, in case they get killed during your opponent's turn. Alright, so now we have one of the best cards, Mind of Hardcore. So it's a normal order. Play this card if you have 2 or more 72 Pillars Rearguards. You choose up to 3 72 Pillar cards in your drop and put it face down as Gauge. So honestly, Gauge 3, thank goodness, is from drop, just like Clear Serenity with Zanya, and not from deck, because deck out is a problem with Buddyfight cards, which I'll talk about more at the end. But yeah, really solid stuff. Gauge 3 from drop is very good and has no basically cost, and the condition to basically play it if you have 2 or more 72 Pillar Rearguards is like the easiest thing in the world for this deck. So next up we have Devil Advantage, and it's your second best normal order to play besides Nice One. So you play this with cost of pay 1 gauge. You choose 2 72 Pillar normal units with the same name without Sentinel from your drop, and you choose 2 cards, put them into your hand. So basically you want to grab like 2 Dance Asmodais or 2 of the original Asmodais to grab back to your hand. And you could grab Let's Play Asmodai, but unfortunately Let's Play Asmodai has to intercept. It's not on Continuous and Guardian Circle, so most likely you're salvaging one of the other Asmodais. But again, 1 gauge to plus 2 normal units is still really good stuff. And again, because Tetsuya lets you play another normal order for turn, you still can play Noisy Danceroom or something else such as Nice One. Alright, so next up we have the Blitz order for Magic World, Solomon's Shield. So it's continuous Sentinel in your deck, so again, you can only play, 4 of this in the deck. Usually you're playing 2 of this and 2 of the normal units, still working on the ratios, but usually that's what I play in most of the proxy decks for now. And then play this with cost, dish card from your hand. Choosing your units cannot be hit until end of battle, so the usual Sentinel effect. And then it has the second effect of choose a normal order from your drop, put it into your hand, and remove this card. So this is salvage for any of your normal orders back to hand. Unfortunately, you can't grab the set order, but you could always use Kurodake's the grade 3 on place to salvage a set order instead. So between this and Tetsuya's on place, if you do have Persona Ride in hand, you're basically salvaging a normal and set order, so setting up your turn for the double order play next turn, which is very strong. These PGs being able to just grab you back a piece or a combo back from drop is really, really good. Definitely one of the most enjoyable parts of the gameplay experience for the Buddyfight collab, in my opinion. Alright, so next up we have the Impact finally. Diabolical Hardcore. Continuous, you cannot play this card. You can use this ability if you have not resolved the ability of an impact of an impact order this fight. So basically you can only use this once per game. And then auto in hand at the end of your turn, if your opponent has 4 or less cards in their damage zone and you have 3 or more 72 Pillar Rearguards, you cost discard this card, pay 3 gauge, declare final phase, choose your opponent's Vanguard, and deal it 1 damage. So it can't deal it lethal damage just like a lot of the other standard cards that say if your opponent has 4 or less damage, but this is searchable off the OG Demon Lord Asmodai, which is really good. Pay CB1 to search this. So it is a little bit costly because you will have to pay CB1 to, search this off the OG Demon Lord Asmodai, but this itself doesn't use any CB. It's only 3 gauge, and because it's grade 1, it's not grade 3 like all the other impacts that have been revealed so far. You can use this as early as like turn 1 or turn 2 to just do your opponent damage. So I think the early game of this deck will be insane. maybe not broken, because we don't have Surgon and all the other crazy generics that you play that, sacrifice your rears and draw you one. But the fact that you can rush your opponent early and just randomly deal them a damage is really annoying, because once they're at 3 or 4, and a lot of the Buddyfight decks multi-attack, including this one, they can easily do 5+ attacks. I think 5 is probably the number for now, because you'll want Demon Lord, Omni Lord, Asmodai on your board. But yeah, basically once your opponent's at high damage, they have to deal with 5 attacks. It's really annoying because they're getting a lot of cards out of their hand, or maybe just ending them on turn 3. So I think this card is solid. At worst, it's, pinging them before your Persona Ride turn if you went first. They do have to be at 4 or less damage, but the condition is really easy compared to, let's say, like Gargantuan Punisher, where you don't really need them. You don't really need to check their damage or your own damage, or, be on Persona Ride. So, like, this condition is really easy. Your opponent just needs to have 4 life damage. They only need to have 4 less cards in their damage zone, and you just need to have 3 or more 72 pillar rear guards, which is the easiest thing in the world, because you have a lot of salvage, as well as a lot of ways from your ride line and other ways to basically add 72 pillars to your hand. So, solid card all around. Dealing 1 damage to your opponent is very strong. Definitely cannot be underestimated. Do note, though, that it does say choose your opponent's Vanguard. So if you're fighting, let's say, like Jackknife Gold Ritter, or an effect that gives your Vanguard resist, and it cannot be chosen, you can't basically use this card, which sucks. But, that's very rare in Standard, besides, like, Urgula and Jackknife Dragon. So I think this card is still amazing. Just deal 1 damage early is really good. And again, you could play this before your opponent hits grade 3, because it is a grade 1 impact. Alright, so now we have the best card. Nice one. It's a normal order. Got the magic power, so pay this card with cost, pay 1 gauge, draw 2, Pot of Greed, Magic World staple, the best card ever. So again, because Tetsuya lets you play 2 orders, you're likely playing this and Noisy Danceroom every turn. But if you're not, you can play any of the other normal orders that help you plus, and I just love that it's just draw 2. Between this and a Dance Asmodai, as well as your charge and draw, you're going through your deck really fast, so I'm glad Tetsuya can bot deck. Thank goodness. So yeah, honestly, really happy with all the Magic World reveals. There's still 3 more cards from the card of the day that we got yesterday. Alright, so we have Key of Solemn First Volume. This one is a front, so it's a reference to the Key of Solemn First Volume and Second Volume. So unfortunately, it is an order ability, so if you do play these as normal orders, you're essentially using up one of your orders for turn. So you have the front trigger, which is the first volume, so top 2 cards of your deck into your gauge. So you are decking out a little bit faster, but it is a 15k shield, because it's a front. And then the second one, Key of Solemn second value, the second one is a trigger order as well. It's a draw trigger. You can play this card if you played Key of Solemn first volume this turn and countercharge 1. So very faithful to the original, where you have to play the first to get the secondary effect. I do wish it just checked if it's in drop, so it doesn't use up both of your basically normal order plays for the turn, but unfortunately that is just how it is. And it's a draw trigger, normal, doesn't get the plus 5k. And then you have Street Racer Eligos, which is the Continuous Sentinel. He's the mover of the deck, so really glad he's here as the PG. And he has the auto, the overdressed PG effect. When he's put on Guardian Circle, you choose one of your units. It cannot be hit until end of battle. If your hand has 2 or more cards, you choose a card from hand and discard it. So that basically does it for Magic World. Honestly, really exciting reveals. We also got the SEC and Ultimate Rare as well. Honestly, Tetsuya looks really good. I do want to say that I kind of alluded to some of the weaknesses of the deck before. I think the card of the day should fix most of the weaknesses of the deck. We definitely want more 72 pillars. We definitely want better boosters, or at least a free 13k or 18k booster one. I doubt we'll get an 18k, 15k booster like standard. A lot of them have been 13k so far, but that will help make numbers, especially with Demon Lord Asmodai. I think the set order is amazing. Being able to give your front row intercept, so your grade 3s or other things that don't have intercept, such as your grade 1s can intercept, is really, really good. Those 5k increments do help a lot in standard, and I do hate that Play Asmodai isn't a 10k shield in Guardian Circle. Having 10k shields is always really nice in standard, because then you don't have to give up a 15k shield and basically save yourself 5k shield. I think the draw power of the deck is insane between Dance Asmodai and Nice One. You're going through your deck really fast. Thankfully, Tetsuya, can return cards such as any 72 pillars. Again, I doubt we'll get triggers, but any of your orders or your normal units back to deck if you really have to not deck out in order to call 2 and multi-attack. I think the deck has very easy multi-attack. Demon Lord Asmodai is very funny, the Omni Lord one, and works very well. Demon Lord Asmodai also having good removal. It being locked to CB1 does hurt, because currently there's no counter charge for the deck. I think that's one of the big weaknesses right now, because you always want to spend that 1 CB on Tetsuya to multi-attack that turn, and then likely 1 CB as well as for Demon Lord Asmodai. So you kind of want to take 2 damage every turn, though you do have the once per game buddy call to counter charge. So not the biggest deal in the world, but I do hope that Magic World does get a counter charger. I think Duplication is also really good, being able to basically, literally duplicate him with any of your other pieces, such as like Play Asmodai to gauge, or Dance Asmodai to draw 1 is really good. I do think I do wish the deck had a little bit of more defensive utility like Katana World. I hope we get like a better blitz, but I mean, between all the other cards, the deck looks really solid. You know, it's easily doing 5. I don't think you'll do 6 attacks because you have to overcall Omni Lord Asmodai and like kill him off basically. That is the way you could do 6 attacks, but you know, then you'll take a damage. But I think it's really funny that you can bounce Demon Lord Asmodai, the Omni Lord one, because you can ping yourself damage and essentially deny your opponent heals, which is absolutely hilarious. So for example, you're playing against Reza, I was talking about this with a friend, that if they do stack like a heal, or you think they stacked a heal, you could just like ping yourself and just completely deny them the damage, or the potential to heal, because you'll be at more damage, which I think is absolutely hilarious. One of the funniest gimmicks, the Virgilia interaction between the Impact and Omni Lord Asmodai, is also hilarious. But I do love how Omni Lord Asmodai turned out. He's very faithful to the original, and I think this deck does have a lot of potential. Again, the biggest weaknesses that I've already talked about already are the counter charge, the 13k booster. The defense of the deck is looking a little bit lacking for standard. We don't have like a really good Magic Whip Blitz order, but you have so much draw power that you're likely to draw enough triggers that you won't like completely explode and die in standard. You'll have at least a lot of shield in hand because you have so much easy draw power in this deck. And again, the removal for Demon Lord Asmodai is just really good. Targeting a rearguard circle instead of the unit itself is very strong. And a lot of things it does beat in standard because, you know, having removal in standard is just always good. In any Vanguard deck, really. Like being able to drop, you know, PGs against Hostage is very strong if they don't ladder. Being able to dunk specific rearguards, you know, because it doesn't target, you know, makes Asmodai a lot stronger. And I'm really happy that they gave him that effect. And it's not just straight up retire. It's retire, and it's targeting a rearguard circle instead of the unit. So very faithful to dangerous backdrop for Asmodai. So really happy with how that turned out. I think the 2 orders a turn is very strong on Tetsuya's part. So he's kind of like the counterpart to Zanya, which I really like, because he's playing a lot of normal orders during your turn or the set order to basically plus and build up your board and draw a lot of cards, while Zanya is a lot more defensive, and he, you know, he has Snake Gaze and like Secret Bare Hand to like draw 1. So I will make an update for the deck if I can't. I will probably end up proxying the deck, and I'll either make a community post or, you know, leave my thoughts in the comments, because a lot of the times you really discover new things about the deck once you actually play test it. And again, like I said, I do think we're missing a lot of card of the days, including a lot of the triggers, which will have normal order effects, such as the ones we got for Katana World after the Zanya livestream. So likely that we still have a lot of good card of the days to go, and I think that once we do get those, the deck will look a lot stronger. But again, just from the initial reveals, as well as the very, very strong normal orders, such as the Faithful Nice One and a lot of the salvage cards, and even the set order is really strong too. Again, I'm hoping we get Solomon's Great Barrier, kind of random tangent, but I do hope we get that. Or not Solomon's Great Barrier, yeah, Solomon's Tower. But yeah, anyways, I do really hope that we get a lot of the more iconic Magic World cards. But I mean, I think most of them are here, like Mind of Hardcore, you know, Diabolical Hardcore, you know, having like, you know, the very faithful dangerous backdrop and all the other stuff for the effects. I think they did an amazing job with this reveal, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. So do let me know what you think of the Asmodai reveals. I will probably do more of like a rant or review of the deck once I actually proxy playtest and get some experience with it. Again, I do think we're missing things, so, you know, I will proxy like the card of the days, things that we do get once that does happen. But again, you know, I'm kind of just going off here, but I'm just really happy with how Asmodai turned out. We'll definitely be building this deck for sure, along with Zanya and maybe Jackknife. You know, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, we still have time until November, so do let me know what you think of these reveals. If you enjoyed the video, do like and subscribe and everything, and thank you so much for watching.